Hi, my name is Bill Ames. I'm a board member of the Hockomock Film Festival, and I'd like to welcome you to our show, Filmmakers of Tomorrow, a local access production here on Channel 9. Comes to you weekly on Monday and Tuesdays at 7 o'clock, in which we feature local filmmakers and people who are very active in the local film industry. Tonight we're very pleased to have Cristina Cacioppo. Did I get that pronounced right?
Nope.
Nope.
Cacioppo.
Cacioppo. Great, thanks. Well, we'll get to her in a second, and we're very pleased to have her with us. And but first, I just want to give you a few words on the Hockomock Film Festival. For those of you who might not know what we are, the Hockomock Film Festival was the original Easton Film Festival, which we put on for 4 years, and now we've expanded to the 13 towns of the Hockomock Film Festival, Hockomock League rather. And we're encouraging entries. Our deadline is the 15th of May. We have 3 categories. We have documentary, drama, and music video. Music video, you have to have an original soundtrack. And we have cash prizes for each category, first and second place. And our awards will be given out in, at Stonehill College on Saturday the 17th of June. We'll also be screening all the entries to the film festival that day. And then at 4 o'clock we give out the awards. So it's a very exciting day. I encourage you all to enter. We have a website rather, www.hockomockfilmfestival.com, and there you can get the entry form to download, and you can fill it out. And again, our deadline is the 15th of May, which is next week. So that's the outline for the competition. And just before we get to Cristina, just to say quickly, we have a film club that is over for the year, but we meet every other Friday at Andrews Bakery on Route 123, courtesy of Julie Andrews, the proprietor, who's very supportive, very generous of the Hockomock Film Festival. And then we have this cable show, of course, and then in the past we've had educational seminars thanks to our host, our local award-winning documentary film producer, Gino Del Guercio, who's helped us several times, and we look forward to more participation there in the future. So that's the overview of the Hockomock Film Festival. We're very excited about it, and it's a bootstrap local film festival, the People's Film Festival, as we like to think about it, and encourage adults as well as high school students to enter. So that brings us to our show tonight. We're very pleased to have Cristina with us. Cristina is very active in the Women in Film and Video. In fact, she is Women in Film and Video. So why don't you first, let's see, where should we start? Give us a little of your background.
Sure. This year is actually our 25th anniversary. We were started in 1981. By a group of women living pretty much in the Boston area, though we kind of represent all of New England. And these were all just women filmmakers that kind of felt like they wanted a support network locally. And there already was established a Women in Film kind of internationally. I think there was one in LA and New York already. And so these chapters started kind of popping up around the country. And so they decided locally to start this group. And basically, we're a membership organization. We are composed of all different sorts of filmmakers, actresses, people who work for film festivals, editors, kind of the whole gamut of people working behind or in front of the camera, all different aspects of filmmaking and video and TV making.
Great. Well, as I say, people always want to know the background of different people. So could you run us through your where you're from and what your education was?
Me, myself? Okay. I was born on Long Island, but I then was moved to Florida kind of when I was 13, so spent some time in 2 very different places, and then went to school at University of Florida and studied film. My interest was mainly in doing kind of more of a program curating stuff. I curated the cinema for my campus, and that was really fun. And then I moved to New York when I graduated. I had interned for Killer Films, which is a pretty big independent film company, and I actually did get a job working on the film Hedwig and the Angry Inch, and I
oh yeah, a favorite of mine.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding.
Basically, that I didn't really like film production. I was getting kind of more into the you know, the behind the scenes, the showing of films and things like that. So I had worked with other groups in New York, putting on film series and things like that, and eventually moved to Boston, where I got involved with Women in Film. And then also I work for the Boston Jewish Film Festival, kind of on the programming side of things. So that's my background.
Well, independent film is alive and well in Boston. Certainly, I guess they recently had the Independent Film Festival, Boston Independent Film Festival. Did you go to any of those shows?
I actually volunteered in the Filmmakers Lounge, so I got to see some films, but I spent a lot of time working there. So I did get to meet a lot of the filmmakers, which was really interesting, and they're all really young and really nice.
Yeah, no, I'm sure, and the impact of digital editing must be huge on the ability of these.
Definitely, yeah. You see a lot of people working with lower budgets, so then there's a lot more people are able to do a lot more, and yeah, I mean, editing software is kind of more easy to get, not as expensive, and video is cheaper than shooting on film. And
yeah, a good editing system can overcome a multitude of errors on the shooting side of things.
Yeah.
Certainly. And it was interesting. We had one guest on the show about a month ago, and he was fascinating about how to bootstrap productions, get volunteer help, and all sorts of ways to sort of do it on the cheap. Which I guess is part and parcel of the independent film movement.
Definitely.
Sort of, to do it. So what are we, tonight you have some clips you brought with us, or with you rather, to show us?
Yeah, I brought some clips. We do a lot of different programs, and I could talk about different things we have coming up, but recently to kind of celebrate our 25th anniversary, and also because we do this fundraiser every couple of years, we have what we call the Image Awards Gala, and we honor several local women who have kind of, you know, paved the way in filmmaking or video TV production. And so this year, we honored several women. We honored Lisa Simmons, who is she's the director of the Roxbury Film Festival and the Color Film Collaborative. And then Carol Patton, who puts out Imagine Magazine, which is the New England, you know, filmmaking newspaper. And also Dorothy Arfiero, who was one of the original producers of Queer Eye for the Straight Guy. She had started working with Scout Productions, which had started as a local company. They're kind of now, they're still in Boston, but also in LA. So for this event, basically, you know, it was a dinner event. We had it at the Marriott Copley Square Hotel in Boston. And we had several film portraits made for each of our honorees. And they were made by local filmmakers, all women. And so the two women who made Dorothy's film are named Janet Fuchs and Deb Houston, and they have a company called Mind Garden Media. So they're available to do that kind of stuff, and they did this for us pro bono, which was really nice of them. And they made a really nice kind of little piece on her, so we can do a little clip just to show kind of our members' work and also what we screened at our event.
So this is the, they did this for the benefit of women in film and video.
Yep, this was screened at our event.
At your event. So, Rich, in the control room, are we ready to roll this clip? Perhaps.
Dorothy began a flair for entertaining way back when she was 2 years old. Her teacher said, "Never worry about Dorothy. She'll always find her place in this world."
A high school teacher of mine, Ralph Gracia, who taught driver's education, had said to me, "You know, I really think Dorothy belongs in the arts." I actually began my career working in television. I had just graduated from Emerson, and Channel 38 is just right around the corner from me, because I really didn't know anything about production. I had majored in drama, and so I, you know, learned by volunteering.
Well, that was an interesting clip. Why don't you tell our viewers a little background about that woman?
Yeah, her name is Dorothy Arfiero. She still lives in Watertown. She was one of the original producers of Queer Eye for the Straight Guy with Scout Productions, and has credits on other films, including Good Will Hunting, Session 9, some other locally made independent films. And she now has, she works with her company's called Silent Partner, and she's producing more films, and she's kind of getting bigger. She's an executive producer, and she's kind of a big deal. She's getting, you know, things done, getting films made.
Some of our viewers may not know what Queer Eye for the Straight Guy is.
Okay, it's a show that's on Bravo, and it's Been getting a lot of attention in the past couple of years. It's basically involves, I think they call themselves the Fab Five, and they're basically 5 gay men who go and find one straight man, and they kind of redo him, give him a makeover, so that, usually it's framed around some kind of event. Like, I know there was one where someone had a gallery opening and they wanted him to look good and make food for his friends, and they even did actually the Red Sox once. They did a makeover for the Red Sox.
I could use a makeover sometimes.
Yeah, well, you should contact them.
I should contact them. That's right. Yeah, my house is a little messy. My wardrobe could use a little. Yeah, but that's interesting. So how did she get out there to Hollywood to meet up with these people?
Well, it started in Boston, and basically, I think that they were shooting it in New York. So it basically started as a Boston group, and it was just sort of this idea of, of let's make this kind of show. And I guess, with all the different kind of reality TV shows that are out there, I think it's a little more interesting of one. And, it really took off on Bravo, and I think it led to a lot of things that are similar, similar kind of ideas and concepts.
Yeah, it's so fast. I've seen it. Just I didn't watch it all the way through, but it has an energy to it.
Yeah, and people, it definitely is really appealing and funny, and all the 5 men are really, funny characters.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, even people like my mom and everybody are watching it. So
it is good because there's all this old house, and they have a lot of makeover shows now.
Yeah.
This is just one more. Well, that was an interesting clip. So she was at your fundraiser that you had at the Marriott.
Yeah, we were honoring her and the 2 other women that I mentioned.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, I do know another name you mentioned there was Carol Patton from Imagine magazine. Imagine. That's a monthly periodical.
Yep.
I do get it myself, and I see it. Tell us a bit about Carol Patton.
She's really great, and we were really happy to honor her this year because she actually helped with some of the tax incentive laws that were passed recently for film production companies, and she worked really hard on it, and everybody kind of in the local community knew. And she's just really important. She puts out that newspaper, and it's a really important local industry guide, and she's really fighting to she wants New England to be number 3 after LA and New York in film production. So she does that. She always has a women's issue every year in November where she focuses on women, women filmmakers and producers. So we just felt like she was an important person who's done a lot for the local community, and we were glad to have her. And she's been a part of our group, in different ways, and has supported us in a lot of ways too. So we were really glad to honor her for that.
It's interesting. They have a nice website too. Some nice websites are really crucial now. You have a website, right?
Yep. We recently had our website redone, and yeah, we put some money into it, even though we're a nonprofit and we function on a tiny budget, and that's why I'm basically the only employee, and we're run kind of by a group of volunteers. But we wanted to do this website, kind of in line with our 25th year, have a new look, and have it be more useful for our members. So basically, we made this new website, and the address, if you want to visit it, is www.wifvne.org. And it's basically, it has clips of some of our members' work, which I think is very useful for them. It has links to all members' websites, so you can kind of see who is a member of our organization locally, including people like Laura Bernieri, who's a big producer. She did Next Stop Wonderland, and other documentary filmmakers. So there's links for that. There kind of lists the benefits of joining our organization, and also basically our events, because we do a lot of different kind of screenings, and we have a mentorship program. So basically all the information is right there.
Well, it's so amazing because networking is such a crucial part of this whole process, especially in organizations like you're involved with the independent film, which is typically people early in their careers. And the challenge is always, how do you get to meet other people? How do you sort of form these partnerships or strategic alliances? And certainly the websites do amazing jobs. I tell you, another thing I'm sort of curious about, and is the Coolidge. What is that theater in Brookline? The Coolidge Theater?
Coolidge Corner Theater.
Coolidge Corner Theater. I used to go to that occasionally. Tell us about that. I mean, that's very active, right, in the independent film?
Yeah, I mean, they have a regular film, film series. They show some of the bigger independent films, but then they also do other kind of little events. And yeah, they're really great cinema. They're really well run. It's really beautiful and well kept. Yep.
What other theaters are there in Boston? There's the Somerville Theater. Is that
Yeah,
active?
The Somerville Theater, yeah, they usually do kind of more second-run independent films, some of the bigger stuff. There's the Brattle, which has kind of been struggling recently.
I hear that's about ready to go under.
I think that they'll be okay.
Summer
'Cause
Rescue.
people definitely kind of have to step up and support them and give some money. But they do kind of repertory, a mix of things. Like they'll bring some stuff that hasn't screened locally. They do a lot of foreign films and things like that. There's Harvard Film Archive, but they do some local stuff, but usually they're kind of more, sort of older films or foreign films. They always have really great programs too.
One place I've never been to was the Harvard Archives. I
Yeah.
think the Carpenter Center. Have you ever seen any of the shows there?
Yeah, I've gone to films there. And
That's interesting.
they're always
That
really
must be-
interesting.
yeah.
They bring guests, and I think they do a lot of really interesting programming, especially since people more and more these days are kind of at home watching Netflix or whatever.
Yeah.
They kind of bring films that aren't available that way. So it's kind of like, even if it's something that's from the 60s or something, it's like, oh, I've heard of that filmmaker, but I haven't seen that film by them, or
Yeah.
kind of older things. I think it's basically the way that the cinema experience should be, just
Sure.
having rare opportunities to see things.
And then there's the other one that comes to my mind is the Museum of Fine Arts.
Mm-hmm.
They've have a sort of is it a retrospective, or do they?
No, they do a lot of new films. They do, foreign independent films, all sorts. They have a really great eclectic
Yeah.
program.
So if one was those sort of there's a Brattle, the Somerville, the Harvard, the Coolidge Corner,
Yep.
MFA. Those are the main five main sort of
Yeah,
screening
like
opportunities.
the regular kind of things. But you could always find different opportunities. We do a monthly film series at MIT called Chicks Make Flicks, where we
That's
feature local filmmakers. And there are kind of other ways to find venues, just alternative venues, and I think that that's an important thing for independent filmmakers, especially local ones, to kind of get their work seen, is to approach these, local, even bars these days are showing films, and, I know there are a lot of bars that have shown kind of local filmmakers stuff. It's just a matter of kind of approaching these people and saying, oh, can you do this? And, they like an incentive, like they like to think that people will go there and buy drinks and then watch your film. But I think that there is a way to get your stuff seen. So
I remember they used to have a bar up by Fenway Park, on that road by Fenway Park. I forget the name of it, but I remember going with my friends in the 60s or the 70s, and they showed Bridge on the River Kwai. So we all ate and watched the Bridge on the River Kwai. But I think now probably the independent films are sort of the avant-garde or something that's probably a lot more interesting to people than going to watch a feature film.
yeah, it is. It can be hard to get people out to these things because, for one thing, if you don't have money to promote it, that could be difficult. And a lot of the different film series we've done, we see such a variety of turnout. Like sometimes there could be a huge amount of people, and then there's just 10, and you never really know what it's based on. But we last year had done a really great outdoor film screening, which we're going to do 2 outdoor screenings this summer at the Somerville Community Growing Center. And there's several kind of outdoor film series in the summer locally.
What is an outdoor films?
Basically, being outside and watching a film, and having that kind of space.
Like a
to do
drive-in
that.
theater type thing.
Sort of,
in
but
the
it's
old
more
days.
kind of, it'll be like on a stretch of lawn or something.
Yeah,
and
sure.
you go. So, even though there are some of those happening, we kind of wanted to do something a little different. So we had done a screening of short experimental films last year, and we're doing something similar. It won't just be experimental, but we'll do short films, all directed by women, some local women, some animation, and we just try to keep the program kind of fun, like, because it's outdoors. It's kind of just like, summertime spirit. So we're working on that this summer, and we will have one in June and in August.
Now, how do you promote this?
We have a mailing list, which we do by email. We send out, press releases. We try to get people to list stuff, and sometimes like the Metro or the Boston Phoenix will list our event and and highlight it, or even the Boston Globe. So
the reason I ask is we have a film club. The Hockomock Film Club meets every other Friday, as I mentioned earlier, at Andrew's Bakery. And there's a couple of issues we face there. That is a selection of films. I'll tell you, we started out with foreign films. The first year and a half we did just foreign films with subtitles, that sort of thing. And we started with that first Japanese film, Kurosawa, that is some Ashobi or Ashoki, I forget what the name of it is. Sort of depressing in the rain, black and white. That was an auspicious start, but we got some fairly good numbers of people coming out. And because some people don't like subtitles, right? They're put off by that. But the plus of subtitles is you know exactly what they're saying because you can read it, which is sometimes not easy to do. But then we went to a John Ford, a Howard Hawks the second year, and our attendance started falling off. So I just wonder, you're in this business of staging sort of film series and how do you see the impact of foreign, like the winners of the Palme d'Or and that sort of thing?
I think it's strange because I know that there was a place for foreign film, I think more like in the 60s and 70s, because even, my parents, who aren't like the biggest film connoisseurs, they knew of filmmakers like Fellini and Lina Wertmuller, and people watched foreign films then, but I don't think it's happening as much these days, and I'm not sure why people are, not into it. There'll be like kind of these strange fledgling hits like Amelie or, something like just something that will step up from usually a European country that people will go to see, but it doesn't seem like people, at least in general, seek out foreign films, and I'm not sure why that is because there is a lot offered. I mean, it's different than American cinema, even independent cinema.
You go to the Kendall Square Theater. There's a bunch of there's always foreign films there. In fact, it's mostly foreign films, I would say. So
but I think it is just, it is a very specific like city thing because where my parents live in Florida, there's not a huge selection of foreign films to be seen. It's, it's all pretty much all American-made stuff.
That's right. The Fellini films were in the 60s mostly. Knife in the Water, all those 8.5, or those were sort of depressing.
I think that's part of it
town,
too.
It has to be a little depressing if you live in a university town.
Yeah, I think it's
right?
kind of, that's part of it, is that
the
Americans do
angst.
they like the feel-good films, so they miss that. They don't want to they don't want to subject themselves to that. But I think, you can't force things on people, and I know even from when I was doing programming at my school's cinema in Florida, I felt like, I want this program to be really interesting, but then it's like you can't get people out to it, so it's like.
How do you mean interesting?
Well, just different and dynamic. Like I didn't want to show what was in the big theaters. I wanted, this was the university cinema. I thought it should be a little challenging, and that people should go to see it. But yeah, sometimes it can be hard to get people interested because people. They do want kind of, I think it does have to have, like even marketing kind of helps, with these things and
trial and error too. I mean, we've experimented, like I say, with the foreign films and the U.S. films and this and that. It takes a while because every area is slightly different. So tell me about the promoting now. Email is a great tool to promote films. Film showing. So is that you said that earlier that you use email lists?
Yep, we do that. We post it on the web. We kind of try to find there's so many places to list events on websites, the New England Film website, and even just using things like Craigslist. And a lot of people even now use, things like MySpace, which is like this big deal to promote films.
MySpace. What's that? I've heard of that.
MySpace is, and it's, there's a lot of people, and especially students, probably every student knows what MySpace is because it's kind of like this young person thing.
Yeah, I've heard it. I've heard it a lot, but I don't know what it is.
It's basically a place, and it kind of started more geared around music stuff, but now you can actually post videos that you've made on there and people can watch them. Along the lines of, there's a lot of different kinds of short film based websites like iFilm and things like that. But yeah, basically anybody can do that, and then you can kind of see how many people watch it and vote on things like that. And there's just a lot of groups that are kind of utilizing the internet to promote their work. and it's just kind of a new.
Yeah, the internet really is it's a cliche, but it is a revolution of major, especially for film and video, because it does offer it eliminates the whole distribution issue.
It does, and even this year, the Sundance Film Festival, they posted almost all of their short films online, so you could just watch them and select them. And I think, the only reason why, there's probably a lot of reasons why features won't be done that way, because there's just a lot having to do with distribution and money and things like that.
Not in my lifetime certainly, but in your lifetime.
Yeah,
things are
even
changing.
because since I also work for the Boston Jewish Film Festival, I think that we're seeing kind of how things are changing, because things are coming in on DVD now, and we often have problems with the DVD.
We've just gotten a signal from our back
Okay.
shop there, which I'm a little confused at. Do we have a clip to roll, Rich, for one more? Okay. We have
Okay.
one more clip here.
All right, I think we're
Got
doing
one.
another clip from Dorothy Orfiero's
Okay.
film profile, and it's actually kind of a little funny segment of her co-producers.
So let's roll the clip. Sorry.
Everyone in Boston, and congratulations, Dorothy, on this award that you're getting. The Vision Award from Women in Film is an incredible honor.
An amazing honor, Dot. It's unbelievable how far we've come. You've done it all. Your vision, heart, and soul is what started Scout and what continues to motivate us throughout our days out here in LA. We're so proud of you.
So congratulations.
Congratulations, Dot. It's amazing.
What are you doing? Oh, who told you to take a break?
Well, there we have another clip. What? Share with us what that was.
Well, those are basically the people who worked with Dorothy starting Queer Eye for the Straight Guy, and they're sort of poking fun at the fact that we were giving her this Image Award, and they have won, an Emmy and an Oscar, all these things, and basically saying like, oh, what an honor, poking fun at it. But then it basically ends with where they're just being like shooed away by the guys who are on the show.
Now, do we have more clips to
No.
show? Those are the two?
Yeah, that's
Okay.
pretty much it.
Okay. Well, that's interesting. That's very interesting. So those are the two stars of Queer Eye for the Straight Guy?
They're not stars, they were co-producers with her.
Oh, they're the co-producers. So you probably said that. Well, that's interesting. Well, in the time we have remaining, I'd like to sort of walk us through if we were how would you approach, let's say I decided I want to make a 10-minute short. How would I do it in terms of you got to write the script, you got to get the equipment, got to get this. Some of my friends is not talking about big budget. How would you? What resources do we have in the Boston area that I could take advantage of? Say I wanted to get something written.
You want to get something written? There's a lot of people who write screenplays. I think an interesting kind of program that happens yearly is the 48-hour film festival, where they basically over 2 days a group gets together and writes, shoots, and edits a film, and then they do a little a little screening at the end too. So that's that's the way it's done. I guess if you have video equipment, you can just kind of do it. I happen to be a fan of Super 8 film, so I kind of like to, it's a little bit more of a challenge because you don't have sound, but...
Do you know Tony Treadway or Ricky Laycock? Are those that's the
No.
previous generation, Super 8 filmmakers.
No, I haven't heard of them.
Well, that's very interesting. So Super 8, so they still make the film stock?
Yep, it's still out there. Even, I used to live in New York, and Kodak, you could go to Kodak and buy it there. And
So how do you edit Super 8?
I have this little editor that's basically, where you're basically cutting and pasting.
Chop it down.
Yeah, you're
Yeah,
basically
sure.
cutting and taping film together.
Yeah.
So, that's a way. It basically costs $10 for a roll of about 3 minutes of film, and then about $10 to process it. So, there's a $20 film. Well, if you want to make a 10-minute film, then you get several reels.
So you can't just slide it on a videotape and...
Nope, you can't. They can transfer it, like you can get it done at some place like Video Transfer or something like that. But